the top billionaires and millionaires of this country regulate Congress. But Congress doesn't regulate Wall Street. We have to reverse that. Also, we need to bring jobs back to this country. That's the most important, essential thing to do, is bring American jobs back to America. If my opponent, Donald Trump, said that in order to make America great again, we would have to bring back American jobs, I would say I agree with you. But my opponent, Donald Trump, does not have that mentality. He has a mentality, and I'm quoting him directly, that in order to make America great again, we have to discriminate against Muslims and anyone who isn't Donald Trump. So therefore, he would deport me because I'm not him. But however, while as important as my race against my opponent Donald Trump is, I have a better and more important thing to talk about. A lot of the middle-class families of America are suffering. They're suffering greatly. They're working more than they should. And I mean that. They are really working more than they should. In the 1970s, we had 9-to-5 jobs here in America. 9-to-5 jobs. Not 5 to 9 and over hours, but 9-to-5 jobs. And people could still work, make a reasonable living, and not be overworked. So, when has that 9-to-5 mentality changed to 24/7? Simply, the corporations are overworking the American people. Simple as that. They are overworking the American people. How do I know they are overworking the American people? Just look around this country. A lot of factories are closed down. A lot of retail stores don't exist anymore. And the majority of Americans, old and young, are working at KFC and McDonald's and are holding another job at somewhere else because they're making $7.25 an hour. $7.25 an hour, and they cannot live off that. Not whatsoever. So, how do we fix this? Well, we bring jobs back to America. We bring those jobs back to America that were shipped overseas since the 1980s when President Reagan was in office. That's when we started to go downhill. Now I know what all you may be thinking. Well, Bernie, how are you going to do this? How are you going to push it through Congress? May I need to remind you that the president does not always need Congress to make formal decisions. The president has executive powers. And those executive powers means that I, Bernie Sanders, and when we get elected to the White House, that we will sign an executive order and we will bring those jobs back to America and raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour. $15 an hour is more of a livable wage than $7.25. But I know what the naysayers out there are thinking. I like Bernie, but he's not electable. We won New Hampshire. How am I non-electable? But I know what other naysayers are saying out there. I know some of them are saying, you just want a cranky old man in office. I am not a cranky old man. I'm a radical activist. I've been a radical activist since the 1960s. Folks, I'm the son of a Polish immigrant. And this whole country is descendants of immigrants. We are a nation of immigrants. Well, we know we're a nation of immigrants, but Donald Trump's supporters think we're a nation of Americans. We are, but we're a nation of immigrants who came to America years and years and centuries ago for a better life. History is essentially repeating itself. And I mean that in that context. History is repeating itself. And I have proof of that because when my father worked, he worked at a steel mill in New York. He made roughly $7 an hour, which back then was a good paying job, but in actuality, we struggled. When I was a teenager, minimum wage was $1.25 an hour. $1.25 an hour. Back then, I had one good pair of underwear, and I had to clean them and dry them on my radiator. I'm speaking in all honesty, folks. We need to do what Theodore Roosevelt did. We need to break the big banks and break their spines. When we break their spines, then we tax the rich. When we tax the rich, all the wealth that should go to middle-class families will go to the middle-class families. Furthermore, I know the Clinton campaign says that I'm sexist. Well, I have a message for the Clinton campaign. I am not sexist. Neither are my supporters. Because with the work of my supporters and I, we will show you that America is ready for progressive change. On to South Carolina.